In today's video, I'm going to show you this short box of comics that I picked up at the Hot Comics and Collectibles warehouse blowout sale. Check it out. Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name's Chris, and this is Northgarden Comics. The rather large haul of back issues that I'm going to show you today come from an amazing sale that's been hosted a number of times now by a local store here in the Twin Cities. The store is called Hot Comics and Collectibles, and as far as local comic shops go, they're probably the biggest from a franchise perspective. Well, they're not a franchise, they're all corporate owned, but they have 3 locations in the Twin Cities. One in Minneapolis, which I guess is like their flagship store. Then they have one in Richfield, Minnesota, and then that's a rather large store as well. But then they have kind of more of a satellite store, which is about a half hour south of the cities, and that's in Jordan, Minnesota. And typically that store focuses, it seems like at least, more on hosting Pokemon tournaments and other types of card games and maybe Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, those kinds of things. But they also have an arcade attached to them, and you can pay like a flat price and then just get unlimited gaming, I think, which I've never taken advantage of, but it definitely makes me feel nostalgic for the many, many hours and quarters dropped in my own childhood at arcades back at the boardwalk in New Jersey. But what Jordan does do that's a little bit different than the other stores, it becomes this site for Hot Comics and Collectibles warehouse blowout sales. So periodically, usually once or twice a year now for the last, handful of years, they've hosted a warehouse blowout sale where they need to just move inventory, reduce that inventory. And so in order to do that, they actually sell all of the back issues at 25 cents a piece. And I've said this before, when I go to a quarter sale, my approach is really buy now, ask questions later. So I'm not going to be super discerning in terms of trying to say, do I really want this or not? Because it's not an expensive book. It's only a quarter. And so I'd rather get it and then figure out if it's something I want to hold on to or if I want to, let go of. But it's minimal investment in at just 25 cents a piece. And so I came home with about a short box of comics from this last sale, and I was able to go on 2 different occasions. I went once earlier in the sale, and then on the final day of the sale, I went probably in the last hour or 2 before they shut down and was able to find some more books. So that's what I'm going to show you today. I will put links to Hot Comics and Collectibles down below in the description of this video in case you want to check them out. But for now, let's go ahead and dive into this haul. All right, to start things off, we've got one character that's going to dominate the first chunk of books here. And it's not a character that I typically collect, but when you find this sheer number of issues all together and at this price, it becomes awfully hard to resist. The character is Red Sonja, and I will say that I am trying to put together her Bronze Age issues from Marvel when I can find them, and periodically I find them for cheap, in a dollar bin or something, 1 issue here, 2 issues there. On this particular occasion, they had 5 issues that I needed from her first solo title. This is Marvel Feature Presents Red Sonja, She-Devil with a Sword, and I picked up issue 2, 5, 12, 14, and 15. And issue 15 is the final issue in the run, so just 15 issues from this volume. With this acquisition, I now only need 4 more issues, including number 1, to be able to complete this volume. And like I said before, I'm not really collecting Red Sonja overall, but it's Marvel, it's a Bronze Age title, the art looks great, and it is a pretty cool character because I like the whole fantasy genre as well. So very happy to have made that kind of progress on that volume. But the fun with Red Sonja doesn't stop there, because then she went on to have a volume 2, which was just a 2-part limited series, and they had both issues from that, volume 2, so I grabbed both of those. Again, everything here just a quarter a piece. And then, in addition to that, there was a Red Sonja movie, and there was a movie adaptation done in comic books, and they had both issues of that, so I grabbed those 2 issues, obviously. And then, sorry, just trying to keep these things in order as I put them down here. And then, there was a Red Sonja Volume 3 from Marvel. I think Red Sonja is being published by Dynamite today. In fact, there's a new, I'm hoping, ongoing Red Sonja title. I think it's called Savage Red Sonja. And issue 1 was just solicited not too long ago. And I did pick up a copy of that, or I pre-ordered a copy of that, because if that's an ongoing, that might be one I want to, you know, actively keep up with today. But back when it was still with Marvel, they did a volume 3, which may have been the final, like, ongoing for her. And that was a 13-issue volume. And I will admit, I've seen random issues here and there from Red Sonja Volume 3 all over the place, you know, at time to time in dollar bins and things like that. So it's not terribly hard to find, but I've never really gone after it. But at the sale this day, they had 12 of the 13 issues from Red Sonja Volume 3, and that's just too much gravitational pull for me to resist. So I went ahead and got them. And if you think about it, you know, 12 issues at a quarter a piece, that's $3, and that's less than the price of a new comic book today. So if I read these and I don't love them, it's really the equivalent of one new comic book. So not a lot lost. And that's why, again, I say oftentimes I'll say buy now, ask questions later, because it's very low risk. But let me show you these issues here. So there's issue 1. I forget which one is missing, and maybe like issue 11 or something like that. And these are pretty cool covers too. I think the series was drawn, well, I know some of the series was drawn by, I don't remember the name now. I'll put it a little text blurb, but Mary Wilshire did the plotting, and Louise Simonson did at least some of the scripting of this. So I've been seeing Louise Simonson's name really all over the place of late. She's still writing today for Marvel, but it's just amazing how many things she's written. I guess I had been historically more familiar with her more famous runs and things she had done with her husband Walter, but just again and again I keep seeing her name on so many things. So definitely one of the bigger writers historically for Marvel. And what was that, issue 10? Yeah, so issue 11 is the one that's missing. There's issue 12, and then final issue 13. So great score, a great stack of Red Sonja books. Wasn't really collecting Red Sonja before, but when really you've got an entire collection just right there for you to grab all at once, pretty hard to resist, and the price was amazing. So really excited and happy to grab those, and looking forward to reading those. Here's one random issue from one of the myriad of Marvel's reprint titles. This is Marvel Tales number 154. I don't think there were a ton of these, and I'm not really actively collecting this title overall. I grabbed this one just because it was a reprint of this crossover with Daredevil, and I don't know if it's the first time they meet. It may be, because Daredevil's in his yellow costume, so it's pretty early, but that was just a fun grab for the Daredevil appearance. Then there were a bunch of Captain America books, and I don't collect everything Captain America. There's definitely pockets of things I'm collecting. Again, though, with Captain America, when it's Bronze Age, it's going to be hard for me to resist, especially at a quarter. And then some of these fall within the Mike Zeck run of things, which is one of the portions of Captain America Volume 1 I am actively collecting. And then there were some that were from the Mark Gruenwald era, which was what, like 10 years long. So he had one of the longest runs of writing Captain America, and they're just starting to put that into omnibus format as well. But I figured I might get those omnis someday, but for now, at 25 cents a piece, I will grab those single issues, and then down the road I can figure out, do I keep those? Do I go with the omnibus editions? You know, those kinds of things. But the Captain America issues I picked up at the sale were issue 231. Great Mike Zeck cover on 258. 268. Whoops. Looks like I got a duplicate. There are a couple duplicates in here. You go so fast that that can happen. 277. 278. And then we jump ahead to 300. 304. Another duplicate, not a duplicate, 305. Got a direct and a newsstand copy of that one. 306. And then jumping way ahead, Ron Lim cover here. There's 366. And he's definitely one of those artists I associate with the late 80s, early 90s, particularly because I was collecting Silver Surfer Volume 3 at the time. But his style definitely flashes me back to that era overall. 370. And then grabbed an annual. Nothing significant about it, but the annuals back then were fun. So I like to pick those up when I can. There's annual number 13 from 1994. Here is a much more recent Captain America issue. I think this was like a limited series, but it's called Captain America, The Living Legend, written by Andy Diggle and art by Adi Granov. I just thought that was a great cover on number 1. Didn't know anything, still don't know anything about the story or this short series, but again, for a quarter, I'm going to pick it up and figure it out, and maybe it'll be something I like, and I want to get the rest of those issues. I also hunt for comics, not just for me, but for my wife. Overall, she's not a comic book person, but I've mentioned in previous videos that she and I are both big Star Trek fans, and she loves all things vintage, or many things vintage, and so that kind of crossover or intersection of vintage things and then Star Trek also, you know, lends to her enjoyment of Star Trek comic books. And so there's no shortage of Star Trek comic books, and they're generally pretty cheap to begin with, but there's certain runs and titles and things that I am trying to find for her. Some of the stuff she'd love to have the original series that was done. Who is that did that? You know, it was like Whitman or Gold Key or Dell or one of those older publishers that did the original series, and she really loves those. You typically find those in pretty poor condition, but you can still find them for $1 or so. But then Flash, you know, move forward, and there's the Marvel series that went like 18 issues, trying to hunt that down for her. And then in DC, it's really the issues focused on Star Trek Next Generation. And I found several at the sale. You've got this Star Trek Next Generation Special number 1. Grab that. And the Special number 3. Here's Annual number 2 from, what, 91? And then Annual from 1992. And Annual from 1993. Annual number 4 there. Oh, and Annual number 5. Look at all these annuals. Lots of annuals to be found at the sale. Then we've got, oh, one more annual. Lots of annuals. I think she may have all of them now, because she may have already had Annual number 1. There were a couple issues from some limited series. Star Trek Next Generation Ill Wind, number 2, 3, and 4. Some nice painted covers on these. And then this other limited series, the Modala Imperative, issue number 1. She has the rest of this already, so that was the last issue she needed. Another limited series, Next Generation Shadowheart, number 2. And then one I accidentally grabbed. It was a cool cover, but didn't realize at first that it wasn't Next Generation until I looked more closely, because obviously you got Kirk and Sulu on there. But yeah, one of the issues from that ongoing, number 35. But still a cool cover, so holding on to that. So those were the Star Trek issues I found for her. And I don't remember which issues I got on day 1 or day 2, but here is World War Hulk prologue. I actually put this together a few years ago, but I think the issue I have for the prologue is, it might be a second printing, it's at least a variant, but this was the John Romita Jr. Standard cover to number 1 there, and so I thought I'm going to go ahead and pick that up, because I often will grab John Romita Jr.'s art. And then now we're going to kind of start to jump around a bit between titles and characters and things. There's 2 of these. Captain America issue number 0 with Steve Rogers on the cover. And then another Captain America 0, but with Sam Wilson. And I believe these are actually different issues, not just variants of the same, because there's different creative teams listed here. But they each had their own Captain America title that was ongoing, recently concluded, and now they've relaunched. I think it's just Steve's got a title now, but it's being written by Michael J. Straczynski, and so I'm definitely hopeful for that being a great run. I don't know that Sam Wilson's got his own title right now, or if he's just appearing in other things. I don't think he has one, but grabbing those. And then here's an Image title that I'm not actively collecting new, but just picking it up as I can find these issues in the discount bins. This is Noctera, issue number 2. Just some cool looking art. I like the concept there of the story. And then issue number 10. So I've got the first like 11 or 12 issues I think now, but it's up, you know, much higher than that now. But I'll just continue to piece that together as I can find them for cheap like that. Got one issue from the current Wolverine title, issue number 29. I'm not sure why this was in there, because it's still pretty recent. It may have, I don't know, maybe there's a little bit of damage to it. I don't know, looks kind of fine to me, but I went ahead and grabbed that. This issue of Action Comics is 1028. Not the cover I would have gone for, but I haven't found it yet, and it's part of the John Romita Jr. run on this volume of Action Comics. And I think with this now I only need one more issue, so I'll keep hunting for that so I can complete that run. And then these next 2 books I can tell you I got on the first day, because after I finished up, it was across the street from the regular store. They rented out a separate space for the warehouse sale. I went across the street into the main store and just checked out the deals that they had going there, and they had some additional boxes of comics, though they weren't as cheap. And I did wind up being big spender for me. I bought 2 $2 comics, and it's because of the franchise, the title, the property that's involved. That is Transformers, my top favorite thing to collect in comics, and the thing that got me into collecting comics back in the 80s to begin with. This is a variant of Transformers Infiltration number 1, so IDW era, one of the first limited series that they did on the Transformers, but it's this cool, it's like a retailer incentive cover. You can see you got the nice reflective title there for Transformers and Infiltration, and at $2, it's a variant that I don't have, and I figured, sure, I'll go ahead and grab that. And then the other one I grabbed for $2 was this copy, Transformers and Transformers versus Visionaries. Loved Visionaries back in the 80s. Watched the cartoon that lasted all of 1 season. I have the short 6-issue comic book series that I got when it came out. And so the concept is cool, makes me feel nostalgic. And so when they did this, not a team up, it's kind of a crossover of these properties. This was during the shared universe, like the Hasbro-verse era of IDW, when they squished all these different titles into one shared universe: G.I. Joe, Transformers, Action Man, Mask, Visionaries, things like that. And this was a 5-issue limited series. Number 4 was the only one I was missing, and I just never see it. So happy to have finally found a copy of that, and so for $2, definitely willing to get that to complete the limited series. So then I told you I went on the early part of the sale, and then I got to go back during the last couple of hours. And though I don't remember exactly everything I got on which day, this next group of books I definitely know I got the second time. And it's funny because those boxes of $2 books, the first time I went, well, during the last couple hours of the sale, lo and behold, there they were in the quarter sale. So any of those books that were $2 the first time I went were now just 25 cents. And there were several other things in that $2 box that I left behind because I didn't want to get them for $2, but I wanted them, just not for that price. But now that they were in the 25-cent box, I was all over those. And there were a bunch more Transformers. So let me pull these out here. Some of these are issues I needed. Some of them are just variants of issues I already had. And so I won't go into all the detail there. These first few are from a 12-issue series that they did focused on kind of the socio-political situation on Cybertron. And believe it or not, for those of you not reading the IDW comics, but who remember Transformers from way back when, Starscream, of all people, is ruling Cybertron. He's in charge. Got his dream, right? Dream come true, but it's not nearly the situation that he would have envisioned for himself back in the Gen 1 days. But there's this 12-part series that was called Transformers Till All Are One, and I needed some of the issues from there still. But here's issue 7, and then issue 12, and then you can see Starscream himself, and then Windblade here. She's also working with him. And then this one I'll show you now just because it's funny. I've said this a lot of times, and I'll say it again. Whenever you go to buy a comic book, make sure you're comfortable with the price you're paying and the condition you're getting. And if you are, go for it, right? And just enjoy the book and move on. At the same time, if you want to be patient, many times that patience will pay off. And that book I showed you before, that Infiltration, number 1, with that retailer incentive cover, $2, I was happy with that price, and it's in great condition, so I'm very happy to get it. But there was another copy of it at the quarter sale just a day later, and not that I needed it, but simply because it was just a quarter, I went ahead and got another copy. So now I have 2 of those, and I have no regrets about paying $2 for the first one, but just to kind of show you both sides of that again, you can get it when you want to get it if you're happy with the price and the condition, but if you want to wait, there's no guarantee you're going to get that for cheaper, but it does happen more often than you may think that you can find that same book for cheaper. And so I went ahead and just had to laugh and definitely was going to get that for a quarter just because I could. Keeping with the Transformers though, these are some of those other originally $2 books that I didn't get, but I got them now that they were just a quarter. Here's Transformers number 13. This was like the first ongoing that IDW did, and it's a variant that I didn't have. Transformers number 14, again, a variant that I did not have. IDW did some reprints of UK, Transformers UK stories. This one is called Transformers Best of UK number 1. I'm getting those when I can get them cheap. I would love, love, love to find those UK Transformers comics and be able to get them. I don't have very high hopes of ever finding any single issues like that. I do hold out hope that maybe Image, now that they own the license to Transformers, will start to do some collected editions, and maybe I'll get lucky and they'll do the UK Transformers. But until then, I will satisfy my cravings with some of these reprints that have been done over the years. And then there's number 3 from Best of UK. Transformers Windblade. This is it was a limited series with this title, Combiner Wars. So like an event series. Here's Transformers Windblade number 5. I forget how many issues this ran for. Issue 6. I think I now have all the issues. I may have been missing a couple of these to begin with. There's a variant on number 6. Because it's just a quarter, why not get both? There's issue 7. And the subscription cover to number 7. And then this wound up being a duplicate buy, though a different cover. This is a little bit thicker square bound book called Transformers Redemption. There was a kind of a trilogy of one-shots that they did featuring the Dinobots on Cybertron. And I think, what were they? Salvation, Redemption, and I forget what the other, some other, you know, religious type of title they gave it. But yeah, it's a Livio Ramondelli cover. Love his art style for Transformers. So that, I think, does it for the Transformers books, unless there's another one sneaking in here, back here. Let's go. The next one is another rather large number of issues, or high number of issues, that I got with the same characters and titles. Another IDW title that I'm trying to collect is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, I will say, I don't know if you can see them in the shot there, but just over there, I have the collected editions that I've acquired so far, and that's how I've decided to read that, because I jumped into that title way late, and there's no way I was going to go back and try to piece together that run in single issue format. So I'm, you know, kind of reading those and buying them as I complete them, and from what I understand, those are evergreen. So you can look online and you might see them out of stock at certain sellers like cheapgraphicnovels.com and other places. But then they eventually will come back into stock because IDW continues to reprint those. And so I don't feel the pressure to get them all at once because they're spendier, right? So I'm getting them one or two at a time as I can get them on sale and things like that. And I probably have 4 more that I need to finish the run and finish reading it. But in the meantime, I did find a bunch of single issues that are outside of what I have so far in collected format. And so, kind of as a security, I figured, well, at 25 cents a piece, let me go ahead and get some of these issues. And then, if and when I am able to get the collected edition, then I can, you know, I can let go of these. But here is from an event that I think just recently went on, the Armageddon game. This is a one-shot called the Pre-Game, and that was $6.99 originally. So just 25 cents is a great way to get that. The annual from 2020. And then the rest of these are from the ongoing series. Here we've got issue 103, 104, and I won't tell you all the numbers, but what I will say is, like a lot of comics these days, they do typically an A cover and a B cover, and it seems like Kevin Eastman has been doing a lot of the B covers, and whoever the current series artist is at the time does the A cover. And so I grabbed, you know, I grabbed whatever cover I preferred if they had both. I think in some cases I probably grabbed both covers. Like, yeah, on 110, that was the A cover I just showed you, and there's the B cover. But this has been a really strong series, a reliable series, just good to read, pretty consistent art. Some of the artists, I really love their take on the Turtles. Others just kind of okay, but overall it's been a pretty consistent read. So I'm happy that I'm collecting this in oversized hardcover format, and just look forward to continuing reading this. And ever since they came out, the Turtles have just been great, great subjects for cover art. And so lots of different artists have drawn them. And there's just lots of cool posters and like pinup style images featuring the Turtles. And interestingly, I just had to travel for work, and on one of my flights, I watched the Seth Rogen, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem animated movie, and I really enjoyed it. That was pretty good. And hopefully that'll hook a whole new generation of young fans for the Turtles and keep that franchise going strong. I think this title now is up into the 140s, maybe close to one. It's approaching 150, I think, but not quite there. So these are pretty recent issues now that we're getting into the 130s. I got a lot of issues from this title. And it's going to be a while before I have the collected editions, and you never know what can happen. So I mean, it's better safe to get these now, and then when the time comes for me to order the collected edition, I can do that and then replace these. Replace. That's easier said than done. You know, I have a hard time letting go of my single issues for things that I really like, because I just love the single issue format still. So, but it's okay to like both. 135. Man, we're getting really high. I forgot how high some of these issues went. 137. Almost done, almost done. 38. And then, that's a cool cover. 139. All right, so that wraps up Turtles. So that's all the Turtles books. That's quite a significant amount of progress on that title. We are getting close to the end here. So for those of you still hanging in there, thanks for being here. I have been working on going back to my Superman collection from the late 80s, early 90s and filling in gaps. And so I continue to kind of slowly do that over time. This is Superman in Action Comics. This is number 700, so it's a square-bound, thicker issue. Just went ahead, grabbed that. This was a fun find. Another title that I've seen individual issues here and there, never picked it up, but in this case, this was a 4-part limited series that was literally in the same bag together. So all 4 of these issues at once. So I got all 4 for $1. This is The Falcon, his first limited series. Let me slip these out real quick so I can show you. And these are all, 2 newsstands, 2 direct. So issue number 1, 2, 3, and 4. If it had only been 1 or 2 issues, I may not have picked them up, but because all 4 were right there in the same bag, it was super easy, and I figured, why not? It's just a fun part of comic book history and a character that I like. Next few issues, not a title that I'm really actively going after, but I'd found some of her first couple issues from this ongoing a while back. It may have been at another quarter sale, but they had 5 more issues in a row. So I figured, why not? This is Mystique, and they had issues. Sorry, I have my own issues here, trying to keep these comics from sliding off the desk. Here's issue 4. It's pretty cool covers on these as well. These painted looking covers. 6. And I've always liked Mystique. She's one of those kind of bad guys in the X-Men, kind of grayish characters. You want to root for her, but then she does terrible things, and I don't know. Love to hate, hate to love kind of characters, but she's always been one that I've enjoyed reading. A good character. So yeah, those few issues of her, one of her early ongoings, her solo title books. I'm gonna move these because they're just sliding over. Now, here's a little bit different example. I told you, for example, with The Falcon and Red Sonja, that they had so many issues from those series that I wouldn't have gotten them if there were just 1 or 2, but since there were so many, I got them. In this case, I would have loved for them to have more issues, but even though they didn't, I got them anyway. And it's because I love the character so much, and this creative team has done this type of treatment with different characters, and so I really want it for Daredevil. This is Daredevil Yellow by Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale, and they had issue 4 and issue 5. I think this went 6 issues. I'm starting right in the middle So 4 and 5 is terrible. I'd rather have like 1 and 6 or something like that to start with. But hey, with this one, I like Daredevil so much, and I've heard good things about this creative team that for 25 cents a piece, I'm going to go ahead and grab the 2 that I found, and then, you know, I'll work on the other 4 as I can find them. And then I won't say quickly becoming a Fantastic Four completionist. I don't think I ever will, just because the lower number Volume 1 issues are way too expensive. But their later stuff is generally pretty cheap. And so I'm working on a variety of volumes. I think this is volume, I don't even know, is it volume 4? But this is the number 1 to whatever volume this represents. And I don't think this one went terribly long either, but for 25 cents, I'm gonna go ahead and grab it, and I'll just keep chipping away and reading Fantastic Four, because they're a team and a family and a title that's really grown on me over the years. All right, a few more recent issues. Sorry that these are out of order here, because we're coming back to Captain America again, but this was the Steve Rogers Captain America title called Sentinel of Liberty, and I collected the first few of those issues new, and then now I'm just trying to piece it together in the back issues as I can. But here's issue 7, 9, 10, and 11. And then I got one more issue from the recently concluded Captain Marvel volume that ran for 50 issues. There's still like 10 more issues I need to fill this out, especially in the lower numbers, but that was a hole I had. And then, let's see here. Here is Marvel Superheroes Fall Special from, what, 1990 something or other. I've always been drawn to these, the square-bound, thicker specials that they did. I think they were like, maybe like 15 of these that they did, but they're fun to get, so when I can get them for cheap in a good condition, I will. Here is a X-Men related limited series with an 80s recycled title, Exterminators. So grab that, just piecing that together as I can find it. And then last, and certainly not least, this was minorly significant to me. This is New Mutants number 18. So this is the last volume that just concluded. Went, what, 32 or 33 issues, something like that. But issue 18 is the last issue I needed to complete that volume. So very happy to score that one and close that out, and then go into my CLZ app and mark that as completed. That's a very satisfying feeling as well. And finally, that's it. That's the last book that I got from the Hot Comics warehouse blowout sale. All right, that's gonna do it for me, and that's gonna wrap up this massive haul from the Hot Comics and Collectibles warehouse blowout sale. I want to say thank you to you for watching, especially if you're still watching now. I want to say thank you to Hot Comics and Collectibles for hosting yet another amazing sale. I look forward to the next one with equal excitement, because I always find a good mix of things that I was looking for, as well as things that I wasn't looking for, but you hooked me at 25 cents a piece and I can't resist it. So I'm glad that I can help you to reduce your inventory. But now that you've seen these books, what about you? What kinds of things are you finding on your own comic adventures? Let us know down below. Now, if you're not quite ready for the YouTube fun to stop, I have hand-selected a couple videos here for you to check out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.